gentlemen, welcome and happy Friday night. Let's go! This is the David Kolar Piano Show. On tonight's episode, I will be breaking down the composition, arrangement, and recording of the song Elastic Plastic. But first, this. By the light of a small dim campfire on the shores of the east of the lake, I see all your faces and the looks of the joy that they make. And it seems like forever ago that we sat here just as we are. So as we sit here, I get the feeling that we won't ever be together, even though you say that we might. Goodbye, restful summer. Hello, cool, cool winds that lead to cold winters that never seem to end, but lead us to summer. And as we sit here, the certain things are different, and it's hard to tell just why they are. Things seem to be fine for all the time that we were apart. soon as we got back together, something just didn't feel quite right. So as we sit here, I get the feeling that we won't ever be together, even though you say that we might. Goodbye, restful summer. Hello, cool, cool winds that lead to colder winters that never seem to end, but lead us to summer again. Thank you. That was my song, Goodbye, Restful Summer, all about relationships and the long, cold Minnesota winters. Welcome to the David Kolar Piano Show. Excited to have you joining me tonight on this Friday night. This is a chance for me to showcase my music, my creative process, break down songs, show you new music. I'm excited to do that tonight. Tonight I will be talking about the composition, arrangement, and recording of the song Elastic Plastic, which is the first track off of my debut album, Elastic Plastic. So before I get into actually talking through the song and those components, I just wanted to play the song once through so you can refresh it in your memory, and then we'll get right into talking about the song itself. Thank you. So that, again, is Elastic Plastic. The genesis of that song really goes back to my college days. It was one of my last semesters of music theory. We were studying the compositional style of minimalism, and especially in particular the composer Steve Reich. Minimalism is a compositional style that often uses sort of repeating patterns. I mean, in the case of Steve Reich and the piece that sort of inspired this piece in some ways, it uses repeating patterns and then slowly changes and adds things to that pattern throughout. So it's just a quick example, something I made up really quick yesterday to give you an idea of what minimalism composition might sound like. I won't play you the actual piece that that inspired this, but I can give you kind of an idea of what that sounds like. So again, it'll be kind of a repeating pattern, and then I will slowly add and change things as it goes along. So hope you enjoy this little example. Just a short example, sort of in the style of Steve Reich, and especially his piece, Electric Counterpoint. Electric Counterpoint is a 3-movement work by the minimalist composer Steve Reich, who was born in the 30s. It was most famously recorded by Pat Metheny, a famous jazz guitar player. And in particular, the 3rd movement, the fast movement, or called Movement 3 Fast. When I was doing some research on this piece in college, I stumbled upon this video on YouTube that was a remix by the electronic or chill-out electronic duo Röyksopp. And this video really mesmerized me. They took this 3rd movement, which stylistically sounds very similar to what I just played, but with electric guitar, and they added some drums, some electronic drums, and different things, some bass, to kind of make it their own, to do a remix of it. And the video that went along with the song somebody had posted on YouTube was a video of extreme sports, so base jumping and parachuting and skydiving. So it was just a very mesmerizing video, that music along with those visuals, and it introduced me to the band Röyksopp. And through them I became familiar with the chill-out electronic genre of music, in particular them and then 07, another famous chill-out electronic duo. And was really fascinated with this music, really enjoyed it, and Elastic Plastic was born out of this desire to sort of create my own electronic piece, or I should say chill-out electronica piece. And admittedly, I didn't really achieve that goal, but I think it served as a good jumping-off point, and I am very happy with what I ended up with. So yeah, if you ever want to check out Röyksopp or 07, I would highly recommend either of those groups. As far as the actual composition of, actually before I go any further, if you have any questions at all during this breakdown, feel free to throw those in the chat. Be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. As far as the composition of this piece, this is written in the key of C major and in 4/4 time. The main basis of the composition is a 3-note repeating pattern, C, G, C, that's played in the right hand of the piano. And that's repeated, each pattern it's repeated 3 times. So twice with 8th notes, and then the 3rd time with 16th notes, so it's the 3rd time is faster than the first 2. So that sounds like this. So that is what starts the piece, and then that flows throughout the rest of the piece. Now this, I would consider this as an ostinato, just this repeating pattern, and it sort of acts as, in a way, a pedal tone, and I'll talk more about pedal tone as we get into the middle section of the piece. But this pedal tone, the idea of a pedal tone is usually it's in the bass, and it's where the bass stays on the same note while the harmonies change above it. So a really quick example of that might be if I'm just staying on C in the bass, and then I start to change the chords above it. So I might start on a C major chord, and then go to F, G, A, B flat, C. And so what can happen here is there's a lot of tension in that. So when I play the C chord, there's no tension. It's a C major triad, very familiar to our ears in Western music. When I go to the F, there's a little bit more tension because there is a C in the chord of F major, but it is the fifth of the chord, not the root. If I go to G, G's a chord, G major is a chord that doesn't have a C in it, so there's even more tension. A minor, there is a C in A minor, so a little less tension, but still some tension. And then B flat, again, a lot of tension there. And what can be really powerful about a pedal tone is once you finally do change that note to something else, it's really refreshing for your ears. So if I do that and then I decide to go to like a G and an F, you'll hear that's just very refreshing to the ears. So. So as you can tell, once that bass does finally change, it's that release of that tension. And so I think of this repeating pattern as sort of a pedal tone. The bass is changing all around it. There's a lot of tension in these chords. And now here's where it's going to change. So it's a nice break for your ears. Now it's a different pattern, and it kind of catches your ear. And so, I could have written it as, where it follows the bass line. So again, that doesn't sound bad, doesn't sound wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just like that tension of the repeating pattern in the right hand until we eventually do change it in the B section. So that's the A and the B sections. And then we get into the middle section, I'm calling it, which is where the chords in the bass or the left hand change quite drastically. So we've been doing a lot of chords in the key of C major, with the exception of the B flat that comes in every once in a while. Once we get to the middle section, our main pattern is the chords of A flat major, B flat major, and F. Again, A flat major and B flat major are not in the key of C, so there's again a lot of tension there as well that gets eventually gets resolved. And as you'll hear in the arrangement, once I pull that up, it goes into more of a halftime feel within that middle section, especially with what the drums are doing. And then after the middle section, there's sort of a build-up, and you'll hear this in the arrangement, a build-up, and then everything drops out, and then the whole band hits again for the one final repeat of the A section. And so forth. And then at the very end, the right hand changes ever so slightly at the very, very end, where I move the G in this pattern, first down to an F sharp, then down to an F, and then that leads to the very end. And these chords are the same as that middle section. And those chords are also used at the very beginning in the intro, way up high here as well. So kind of bringing that middle section in at the very beginning and then returning to it in the middle of the piece, but sort of giving you a foretaste, a little foreshadowing at the beginning of the piece. As far as the arrangement, one thing I should also mention is that this is kind of the first instance that I can think of where I wrote a piece and originally played it a lot faster than I ended up deciding that the tempo should be. So I'm going to play you really quick the original recording I did of it in college back in 2012.
just a little bit of it. And this is just piano, drums, and bass for the arrangement. As you'll hear, as you have heard in the actual final recorded version, there's a lot more instrumentation going on. But this was just simply piano, drums, and bass. I was playing piano, my friend Andy was on drums, and my friend Scott was on bass. And some of the bass lines that he came up with are used in the final recording. But this is the 2012 version, a lot faster than it ended up being. You get the idea. And that's something that has affected me a lot over the years, is writing pieces and then doing a recording, whether it's a demo or just something on my iPhone, and then realizing, oh, that's way quicker than it sounds when I'm actually playing it. So I've really been trying to be a lot more cognizant of that as I've composed more in more recent years, and really trying to find that right tempo. As far as the arrangement, what I'm going to do is play the backing track. So this is everything except the main piano part. And then I'll talk through what's going on in the arrangement. So you can hear the different elements that come in and go. One of the things with arranging and figuring out the arrangement and the production of a song is how to keep the listener's attention, how to keep things interesting. So I hope I've been able to do that, and I'll talk through the thought process there and how I've tried to achieve that. So this is the main A section. So you can hear it's just drums and bass plus the piano at this point. So a pretty simple arrangement. And then shortly here I will bring in a piano harmony part. So there's a second piano part. And that's just using a different inversion of the chords that the main piano part is playing. But it helps to give a little bit more interest and harmonic development. And then that second piano part will just be, this is just an octave up from the main right hand of the piano line. Again, just some more auditory interest there. And now I bring in a slightly different drum beat and do some EQing to transition us to the middle section. And now what I want to point out here in this middle section is the bass is sitting on a C. And this is another example of pedal tone within the piece. I'll talk about that briefly after this section plays. And I've got these xylophones playing. Now I'm bringing in a double piano part again. And there's going to be a little effect to bring us back to the main section. And then everything drops out, now we're all back in. So I wanted to talk about the use of pedal tone in that middle section as well. So as I mentioned, the bass is sitting, for the first half of that middle section, is just sitting on a C. And what the piano part is doing, the chords that they're playing, is A flat, B flat, C. And so again, there's a lot of tension there with the C. It's like anticipating. And now it changes. Just a breath of fresh air for your ears. Again, what I could have done with that is had the bass follow the chord changes, so playing A flat, B flat, C, something like this. But then this part doesn't hit quite as hard because the bass has been changing with all the chord changes. So having that sit on that C, I think really gives a lot of tension and then release once we go to those chord changes, the bass following the chord changes. And then I wanted to just play the the xylophone part in there, something I decided to add a little later on in the production process, and it sounds a little bit like, just on its own, it kind of sounds like, NPR News or something. But again, just another element to add interest to it, to make the middle section stand out in a different way. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about with that piece. I hope that ultimately it gave you some good insight into what's going on musically, compositionally, and arrangement-wise. And with that, once again, in its entirety, here is Elastic Plastic. Thank you. I'm going to put up the link to, the link is in the chat for the album if you want to purchase or stream that, and I'll also put it up on the video here. Cool. Here's another original called St. James. Thank you. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Hope you've had a good time and enjoyed the breakdown of Elastic Plastic. I'm going to finish with one more song here. Before I do that, I just want to plug a couple things. The first one, I'm uploading these live streams to YouTube, so you can please go ahead and check out the replay on YouTube. It's at David Kolar Music is my YouTube channel. You'll be able to see these as well, and when you're over there, please go ahead and subscribe. That'll help me to try to grow that channel and eventually live stream through YouTube as well. I want to thank anybody who's a new subscriber to my channel. Really appreciate, or I should say new subscriber to the Facebook page, a new follower. Really appreciate the follows. I think we've got maybe 10 new followers in the last few weeks, so I'm really excited about that. If you want to go ahead and like that page, I will try to figure out a way to give a shout out to those new follows in upcoming live streams. And then the last thing I wanted to plug was my next live stream, which will be 2 weeks from today. That's Friday, June 23rd at 6:30 p.m. During that stream, I will be breaking down the song The Tunnel, which is the second song on the album. And it was the single from the album back in, I think, 2017. I think that will do it. I'm going to wrap up tonight's stream with the original song called Sanctity. Thank you. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hope you had fun and enjoyed the music. I'll see you next time.